Today, we're breaking down a social media story that went absolutely viral. It started as just a simple hair appointment, but spiraled into a police call. Honestly, it's a shocking cautionary tale about trust, responsibility, and what happens when a parent just completely drops the ball. This right here, this is the raw, frustrated post from an anonymous braider that just grabbed everyone's attention. That BTC shows her complete and utter disbelief. This single post kicked off an unbelievable story that unfolded over nearly 12 hours, all revolving around a very vulnerable 4-year-old child. So, how did we even get to this point? Well, believe it or not, it all started as a totally normal day. A mother had an appointment to drop off her little daughter to get her hair braided at 10:30 in the morning. Everything seemed completely routine.
Now, this is the part that's so important to remember through this whole thing. The child at the center of this ordeal was just 4 years old. That one detail, her age, her complete vulnerability, is what makes this story so harrowing.
So the braider, she was fast, really efficient. The whole appointment was done in under an hour and a half. She texted the mother right away to let her know she could come pick up her daughter, and that's when the silence started. What probably started as a minor annoyance, a parent running late, slowly spiraled into a really concerning situation. Minutes turned into hours, and the braider's calls and texts were just going completely unanswered. You can see how the whole crisis just escalated hour by hour. The appointment ends just before noon. By 1 p.m., the poor little girl is hungry and crying. By 5 p.m., still not a single word from her mom. And the final shocking truth wouldn't even come out until late that night. This wasn't just a brief delay. This was an all-day abandonment. And the braider did everything you'd expect her to do. She called, she texted, she let the mother know the appointment was over and that her daughter needed to be picked up. But she got absolutely nothing back. Just radio silence. This quote really shows you what kind of person the braider is. While she's being totally ignored by the mother, her first thought is for this crying, hungry child. She actually asked the little girl what she wanted to eat, and when she said a Happy Meal, the braider went and got her McDonald's, all while still trying to get a hold of the mom. After hours of silence and, growing panic, the braider realized she had to do something more. She decided to send one last text, one that she really hoped would finally force the mother to reply. And this was it. Simple, direct, and serious. The braider had hit her breaking point, and threatening to call the police was her last resort. And you know what? It worked. The response was immediate. The mother, who had been ghosting her for hours, suddenly replied with a story that seemed to explain everything. A story that, on the surface, sounded pretty terrifying and totally believable. She claimed she'd been in a car accident. And the braider, being a decent person, immediately felt sympathy. She said in her post, who would just leave their 4-year-old unless something really serious had happened? She totally believed the story. But as even more hours went by, even with the car accident excuse, something just didn't feel right. It was now 8:43 at night. The braider had this gut feeling, this nagging suspicion that made her do a little bit of digging on social media. So what on earth could be on this mother's Facebook page that was more important than her stranded 4-year-old child? Well, the answer is as shocking as it is infuriating. The difference here is just staggering. While the braider is worried sick, thinking the mother's been in a car wreck, the mother's own Facebook story showed her on a date, posting pictures of a decorated hotel room and a candlelit dinner. The second she saw the truth, the braider didn't even hesitate. All that sympathy she felt just turned into pure rage. She immediately texted the mother back, letting her know the police were for real on their way. And then she picked up the phone and made the call. So with the mother now blocking her and the police on the way, the whole situation reached its peak. But the resolution came from a place no one expected. Turns out the child's grandmother showed up. Her daughter had called her at the last minute to go get the kid. And she was absolutely horrified. She had no idea her granddaughter had been stuck there all day and was just as stunned as the braider to find out about the lie. The grandmother immediately asked how much she owed. The braider charged $60 for the hair, but then, very rightfully, added a $140 babysitting fee for the 10-plus hours of care she ended up providing. The grandmother paid it all without a single complaint and left with the child. So, the immediate crisis was over, but the story doesn't really end there. The breeder was left to deal with this incredible breach of trust and felt she had to warn other people in her professional community.
The police did eventually show up, but it was too late. The grandmother had already picked up the child. The breeder gave them all the information she had, but it just highlights how she was left to handle this entire crisis all by herself.
Her warning to her fellow breeders was crystal clear. Be so careful who you take on as clients from these online groups. She realized people could use these communities for, in her words, diabolical reasons. And most importantly, always, always trust your gut. Ultimately, she said she was just grateful that the little girl was safe with her, but the experience completely changed her business. She made the tough choice to stop taking clients, especially kids, from that online group, losing out on income just to protect herself and her peace of mind.
This whole story leaves us with a much bigger question, one that goes way beyond just one bad parent. In our modern gig economy, where are the lines drawn? For hair braiders, babysitters, delivery drivers, what is their responsibility when a client isn't just a customer, but a person in a crisis that they themselves created? It's a really good question, and one worth thinking about.